don't talk about money or sex in America.
I want you to welcome my very next guest, who is a MMA legend, Mr. Jeremy Horn. This is my second interview with a MMA fighter, and I'm excited to have you on the show. And obviously, you know, growing up, dude, you were an all-time legend.
Well, thank you.
One of the original OG gangsters of the UFC. And for those watching, it's funny because Jeremy obviously fights nonstop. That walkout of a fight like that,
Yep.
knowing you're about to go hand to hand till one man quits, submits, gets knocked out, is crazy. Like that's like, to me, I think about like the Roman Empire days.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Colosseum. And for those watching, uniquely, Jeremy said, dude, he said, I'm more freaked out right now about walking out that little piece right
Because
there.
I got to face you.
Yeah, well, dude, I didn't want to say
Intimidating
that
individual.
I am. I've been telling everybody that for a long time. But look, man, you've accomplished so much in your career, right? And you got a lot of cool stuff going on, a lot of cool initiatives you're doing. I want to jump into a lot of that stuff with you. You fought some of the greatest there've been in the sport, right? You went head to head with some of these guys. We got some cool footage of you. I'm gonna have you walk us through some stuff here. But before we get started too much, I want you to tell me a little bit about what was that kind of road. Let's back up a little bit to kind of how Jeremy grew up, and what was that like kind of road leading into MMA? How did that kind of look for you?
Well, so I grew up with two older brothers, a single mother raising four boys. So it was a pretty wild household.
Then, huh?
Yeah. So I had two older brothers that are 4 and 5 years older than me. So as you would expect, I took a lot of beatings as a kid.
All right.
And then when one of them joined a martial arts club, I was kind of interested and I followed along and, you know, just ran with it from there.
What was, when you joined MMA, I always wanted to ask different fighters this. Did you play a lot of other sports in high school?
No.
No.
I did no sports at all. I was actually quite a little nerd. Still am. But I started training in martial arts when I was 12.
Yeah.
I wrestled for about a half a season when I was in 6th grade. But, you know, for whatever reason, it just didn't click. I didn't have a whole lot of guidance to stick to it until I got into martial arts.
Gotcha. So you pretty much went straight MMA from 12
Yep.
all the way through your career.
Pretty much.
At what point did you say, you know, it goes from, like, you know, I had friends that went to karate classes, right, that got to, you know, a whatever, purple belt, which is super hard. That's like, you get it for showing up, I think,
Right.
Levels. And, you know, they kick the board, some powerful cardboard. But dude, there's a difference between, like, the person who was taking karate classes and classes to eventually at one point you say to yourself, you know what, I think I'm going to go jump in a ring and do this dance for a little bit. Like,
Yes.
dude, what was that like mental? Where does that come from?
I don't know. It was just something that, you know, the first time I did it, I just did it because it seemed like it was kind of interesting and fun. And we had been training for a while. My first fight was when I was 19, I think.
Okay.
So I'd already been training for, you know, 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And the way we trained was always pretty realistic, and we beat the crap out of each other every day in the gym. So it just seemed like, you know, go try it for real once. And turned out I like it, and turned out I'm kind of good at it. So it just took off from there.
So from 19 to this day, you fight.
Yep.
You got a fight coming up.
2 of them, actually.
Two of them coming up like next month, I think it was,
Yes, next month,
maybe a month from now. You got 2 more fights coming up, and you've fought everything from MMA to boxing to kickboxing. Grappling matches, pretty much all of them.
I've done mostly MMA, but I've done a few grappling competitions, and then just last month I had my first ever professional boxing match. So I do a little bit of everything. I'm primarily a grappler, but
do you like the boxing now?
I do. It was actually a lot of fun.
Was it?
It's always it's a common part of what we do in training. So I do a lot of boxing, but to actually compete in that was a little bit unique for the first time. Can't take him down, can't kick him, can't hit him with an elbow.
But you're also not worried about a kick coming at you.
Very true.
Right, or a takedown coming at you,
Exactly,
right? So it changes it quite a bit. I love the sport, and obviously probably like a lot of people watching, a lot of the staff here. You know, we got these DVDs from Blockbuster. Is how it started for a lot of our, you know, for a lot of the sport, I think, right? When this is before Dana, before all those guys, right? When it was, I think it was the Gracies. Were the ones, the dad, I think, was the one kind of doing this stuff. And we rent those DVDs and watch those DVDs, right, from Blockbuster. Did you do any of that as a
Oh,
kid?
yeah.
You did watch
Absolutely,
those?
yeah. I remember watching the first UFC. It was a buddy of mine had it on the old VHS tape. I don't know if people remember what VHS was, but yeah, he's like, hey, you got to see this fight. It's the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah.
You know, and we watched the fight. We're like, that's what we're gonna do from now on. So,
and that's kind of what sparked the
Yeah.
oh, like I mean, because I watched those fights too, but there was nothing inside of me that said, oh, you know what, I should go do that. Like that thought never went through my head, but it definitely went through your head.
yeah, well, we were already kind of training in that pathway, I guess
Uh-huh.
you'll say. And so when we saw that, it just gave us a lot more focus. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that's what we've been trying to do all along. Now we have some direction. Let's go do that.
So when you did
So-
your first, let's say your first fight in UFC, was it UFC 19? Was that your first one?
My first fight was actually in 17, but it was
17,
it was actually what they call a dark match.
Okay.
So I fought and they filmed it, but it didn't go out on the pay-per-view that night
Okay.
because they saved it for a later show. So my first televised UFC fight was 19.
Was UFC 19?
Right.
Obviously, you fought many other times before that to get to UFC 19 there. But help me out here. Remind me. In UFC 19, was Dana was already running it by then?
No, I don't think so. I think Zuffa took over not long after that. It was run by SEG, Semaphore Entertainment Group.
So
had
you
it
were there
back
before
then.
Dana, man.
Yeah.
Dude, this is crazy, man. Have you had any personal interaction, I'm assuming, with Dana?
Yeah, a bit here and there. I mean, he's always floating around backstage at the shows. So you
Right,
get to
right.
interact with him a
Nice
fair bit.
guy.
Yeah, he's a pretty typical New Yorker.
A New
you know?
Yorker.
You know, he speaks his mind and he says exactly what he wants. And you know, I've always gotten along with him. He's always been a good guy.
Yeah.
But I could see how other people he could rub him the wrong way.
Dude, I love him from the outside. You know,
Right,
I
right.
I freaking love him, and of course, he's done great for the sport. You never had any confrontations with him though. With Dana, have you ever seen him go at somebody pretty hard?
No, not
No.
in front of me. Obviously, I see all the videos that are all over social media of him going crazy. But yeah, it's, you know, I like to fight, and he likes people that like to fight.
Yeah.
So our
He does
relationship
like
is
that,
always
man.
pretty easy.
It always seems like he likes the guys who are willing to pick up the phone and,
Yep.
you know, someone gets for sickness or injury at the last minute or weight
Right.
cuts, whatever it is.
Yep.
And he likes to have that kind of docket there of guys that are saying, "Screw it, dude, I'll go fight."
Yep.
Anytime, anywhere. And I think that's kind of who you are.
Yeah.
You at this point, you love literally to go fight.
Yeah.
Even if you're getting paid or not, you'll go fight.
Yep.
That's crazy, man. So, but look, before you get going into MMA and your fighting career, let's back up for a second. Tell the viewers a little bit about what you got going on right now. So you've been fighting for a long time now.
Yep.
You got a gym here. Talk to us a little bit about what you got going on right now in your career, your business.
Well, so what I focus on mostly now is I run a gym, you know, teaching
Uh-huh.
martial arts, teaching MMA here in Utah and Sandy. And that was, you know, I've been doing both of those for quite a long time. You know, early on it was all fighting, and then I opened a gym because I wanted to have a place to train for my own fights. And then obviously gradually as my fighting winds down a little bit, I put a little more energy and focus into training the next generation of fighters and martial artists.
So do you see yourself being a lifer in the fight industry world?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Even if you're not fighting, you're still
Yeah.
going to be in it for
I knew
life.
from the first day I stepped on the mat and threw a kick. I was like, this is it. This is my
it.
life's direction.
So
I'm
you'll
in.
be 72, still like a gym rat, still there.
Absolutely.
Still MMA
Yeah.
grappling and so forth. Do you mentioned earlier your brothers got into it at
Yeah.
the very beginning when you guys were young?
Mhm.
Are they still involved in it? Or?
Not anymore. My older brother that joined before me has had a handful of fights as well, and he ran a gym for a little while back in Omaha, where we're from. But then he moved away from that, and he's now focused on his family and another business that he's got running. So
Gotcha.
we
Okay.
fought a few times.
A question I was thinking through: did your family support you? I mean, going into fighting and making a career out of that, or was there any pushback
yeah,
there?
absolutely. You know, back then
From
it was
mom
still
or anybody?
Yeah, it was still, you know, relatively new then. So a lot of times it was like, you know, you're going to go do this fight to the death thing.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? But as soon as they understood what it was really about, then yeah, it's like any other sport. You know, they're supportive.
Yeah, very cool, man. I want to talk to me about a little about your first fight that you ever had. I heard there were some unique locations and circumstances, kind of a crazy environment. Tell me a little bit about that first fight you had. Tell me about it.
So I was training in Omaha, and honestly, I don't even remember how we got contacted by the guy that contacted us. And he said, "Hey, I'm organizing fights for this group. We're doing fights down in Atlanta. If you guys are wanting to do it, we'll fly you out there." So me and a couple of my training partners were like, "Yeah, we're in. Let's do it."
Yeah.
So they flew us down to Atlanta. They put us in a hotel room. They gave us like $50 for food. You know, this is back when you didn't make any money fighting.
Yeah.
And they said, "Okay, we'll be back tomorrow to pick you guys up, and we'll take you to the fight, and we'll do it." So the next day, a limo shows up,
Okay.
and we're like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." So we jump in a limo, and they drive us to like a burned out scary looking business district somewhere in the 10:30 at night in the middle of Atlanta.
Sketch.
Yeah, real bad. Like corrugated metal roofs and
Yeah.
So we walk into the building and right away I'm thinking, okay, this is not what I expected. This is I'm getting a little nervous here.
It's not a gym at
like
this point.
like the bare light bulb hanging off the ceiling with the string on. I mean, we were in like a
You're
water
going like
drip.
this is like Miami, like Brad Pitt, like Fight Club stuff right now.
I thought I was walking into a snuff film.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
we're gonna fight and then they're gonna throw us in a ditch at the something's not right here.
How old were you at this time?
I think I was 19.
19. Yeah. So you think this is it, dude? I'm gonna end up in face down in a ditch. when
Yeah.
I'm done with this.
So we walk into this building. It's a big warehouse, and like you would see in the movies, this is no joke. Like there are people in like tuxedos and women in evening gowns,
No way.
drinking champagne,
No way.
getting ready to watch these guys fight. And I'm like, oh man, what have we gotten into? This is going to be real bad. And this, of course, back before the sport was so new. There was no research. You didn't know who you were fighting. They had a group of 20 or maybe 30 guys there, and they're like, okay, you and
Oh my
you're about the
gosh.
same size. You guys are gonna fight, and then you and you.
So there's no
you guys are gonna
weigh-ins.
fight.
There's
No, I didn't even know the name of the guy I fought.
Yeah.
I do now because we ended up training together years later. But at the time, I didn't know who he was.
You were just there to fight whoever
Yeah.
they put in front of you.
So they had a big mat set up on the floor. They didn't have a ring or a cage or anything. Like in the corner of this big warehouse.
Yeah.
And they had a bunch of guys with these little portable pads, like you've seen, like the
kick pads. and so
Exactly,
forth.
yeah. And their job was just to run around the edge of the mat, and if the fighters got too close and were going to spill out into the crowd,
Right.
they would just nudge you back in there.
Sure.
That was my introduction into the sport.
That was your first fight.
Yeah, that was my
there.
first fight.
I remember. It reminds me of another movie I saw as a kid. You ever watch that? I think it's called. Lion with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Lionheart. I think
Lionheart.
it is.
Yep.
Where he was like fighting with those. You remind me of the tuxedos
Yep,
and all that
that's very
stuff. That
similar
was
to
you,
what
man.
it
You were
was,
doing
yeah.
Lionheart. Type stuff. And I think they fought like in a swimming pool
Yep.
one time. And
Yeah,
stuff
I
like
remember that one. Yeah.
So your first fight was in this snuff film, basically.
That's what I thought. I mean,
that you were
obviously,
getting involved in.
I lucked out of it. I got out alive, I guess.
Now,
but
did you win the fight? Do you remember?
I did. Yes.
You won the fight
Yep.
there for what, like $50 or something, $100?
No, we didn't get paid.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
didn't get
they
paid.
gave us $50 so we had some food.
This is great.
But yeah,
So-
it was going to fight for free.
so you
and
traveled
here's
to
lunch
Atlanta
money.
to fight for free.
For free. Yeah.
In a warehouse building to see whatever happens.
Right.
Now, tell me a little about, at the beginning of UFC, there was none of that weigh-ins, and it kind of started with, let's just see who has the best type of skill set, right? Karate, sumo, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever fight any of that style with UFC, or is that already gone when you came in?
So in the sport, I had a few fights that were that way.
Yeah.
But by the time I got to the UFC, everybody was kind of understanding what needed to be done.
Right.
So everybody was kind
Make
of
it more mainstream.
hybridizing their styles. So
Yeah.
that was kind of moving away.
So take me before that right there. Did you have what's some of the, like, maybe the craziest, weirdest fighter? You ever fought like a sumo wrestler or anything that's just crazy?
No,
like
I
that?
never fought a sumo wrestler. A lot of times it was the more traditional martial arts guys, karate, taekwondo, whatever. That again, just the sport was so new. Everybody was trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And
You
be like,
do
I've
any
been
of
doing
the
this for years. Let's see how it
bare
goes.
knuckle stuff?
Oh yeah, my first handful of fights were all bare knuckle.
We're all bare knuckle because UFC started bare knuckle
Right.
as well,
Yeah.
right? Before they went to
Yep.
the, what is it, 8 ounce or 4?
They're 4-ounce
4-ounce
gloves now,
gloves
and it varies a little bit depending on how big your hand is. The gloves
Yeah.
a little bigger, a little heavier, but
So you did the bare knuckle stuff too, and that was all pre-UFC.
Yeah.
That was on one of the local circuits and stuff like
Right.
that. Let's just talk to me about a little bit about. Let's just say someone wants to get into sport, like the journey to it, right? Like in basketball, you're going to go play high school, then college, and then NBA, right?
Right.
What is kind of that journey, especially when you were growing up into it, because it was all so like live happening
Right.
constantly. What kind of that path that you ended up going down to get into? Because I guess UFC is still kind of the mecca of the whole
Right.
industry, right?
yeah, very much.
What's that
so.
road like?
Well, it has to start out with just a love of the sport and a love of competition.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, just like anything else, I mean, if you look at somebody like in the NBA, and somebody's like, well, I don't really like basketball, but that looks like an easy way to make money. I think I'm going to be a pro basketball player.
Yeah, I tried that. I got super close.
Too short, right?
Well, I almost had to touch the net one time.
Okay.
And but then that's when I realized it ain't gonna happen, bro.
Right. But that's really what it starts from is you have to have a love and a passion for the sport.
Yeah.
So much so that you think about it every waking minute and you can't stay off the mat. And if that's your perspective, then if you decide to compete, you'll probably be pretty good at it. And if you start winning locally, then maybe you can move on to fighting nationally. And if you get some recognition and catch the eye of the right person, maybe you get a spot in the UFC. But if you don't have a love for doing this, then it's you're not gonna be able to go very far.
When you guys go through that the local circuits and start going up, trying to get picked up, say by UFC, or there's Bellator and some other ones out there as well. Do you guys get do you go hire an agent and stuff, or is it just you're kind of waiting on a phone call?
No, not really. A lot of times people will they kind of know the shows to fight on. You know, like you said, I mean, there's the UFC, Bellator, and then
There used to be Pride back in the day, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's, everybody kind of knows where they want to get to, and they kind of know which shows feed to those.
Or feeders into them.
Yeah, if you go fight in like the LFA or the RFA or Titan or some of the other kind of mid-level shows, then there's a decent chance that somebody at some point is going to hear your name, and then, it's just a matter of, kind of working for it. But yeah, you can get a manager that kind of help you push your name a little bit, but really it's all carried on your performance in the ring. If you're 0-10, the UFC's not interested.
Now I want to name off some of these fighters that you have fought, because this is like a who's who of MMA world that's out there. I'm gonna name off a couple, and there may be some other ones that you want to throw in there as well. I got Chuck Liddell, Dan Severn, Frank Shamrock, Chael Sonnen, and Forrest Griffin.
Yep.
Those are some literally who's who of kind of MMA world right there. Anybody else you would add in there as some crazy, some big names?
I also fought Anderson Silva.
Oh, you did Anderson Silva?
Yep.
Wow, I didn't know that one. And so that's probably actually maybe almost bigger than all those guys right there.
Yeah, possibly.
He was, for a while was considered the GOAT of the sport, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about these 6 right now that you just named. Out of those 6, which one was the most difficult fight that you fought? Win or lose, but which one was the most difficult?
Honestly, I think probably my fight with Anderson Silva would probably be the most difficult one. I pulled a groin muscle real bad, like 15 seconds into the first round. I shot a takedown, tried picking him up, and I felt something pop in my leg. So then I spent the remainder of that fight limping around like Frankenstein while he just beat the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So
what do you remember what UFC that was?
It was actually not in the UFC. It was in a show in Korea.
In Korea, you guys fought it?
A show called Gladiators that they did.
And so the toughest one you would say was the Anderson Silva fight. Which one is there? Like when I think of like Dan Severn, that guy to me is like a freaking, well, they call him the Beast.
Right.
I mean, he is a freak of nature, like especially back in that day, right? When he was fighting in that time frame right there. What was it like fighting him, man? Knowing you're walking the ring with the Beast.
I tend to be a little bit of an anomaly in that I don't really.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I don't care.
Meant nothing to you.
Yeah.
It was just another fight for you.
Yeah, I just thought this is a guy that I'm going to kick the hell out of. So
really,
yeah.
I guess it's probably a little bit of the difference between an actual fighter, right, and someone who just is a spectator that watches the sport, right?
Yeah.
Like to me, like if I was walking the ring with Severn, dude, I would, or Chuck Liddell, you fought him twice. Like, dude, that guy's a freaking knockout machine, right?
Yeah.
And but for me, like, dude, they would be like terrified. But with you, it was just like another day at work.
Win or lose, like fighting is what I love to do. So I mean, certainly winning is better. But at the end of the day, I've lived my life doing exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
So, it's hard to not enjoy that. It's hard to not be excited to go do that. So
I want to talk to you a little bit about with Chuck Liddell, the story of Chuck Liddell, right? You were his only loss. Kind of when he first got into the UFC, let's say,
right?
From his UFC career, when he took off as Iceman with X-Science, all that stuff that he was doing, right? You were his like thorn in the flesh that he had there, because you were his only loss for how many years it was, as he was kind of building that career there. Any animosity between you guys?
No, not at all. That's one thing that's a lot of people don't understand about the sport. Most of the fighters are all good people, and certainly after you fight somebody, they're all pretty friendly. Everybody's pretty easygoing, because everybody understands if you have made it to that level, you have taken a lot of beatings in the gym, and there's not a whole lot of ego left anymore. Like
it's all out of you.
We're here to beat each other up to test ourselves, and you have to respect somebody that's willing to do that, whether they beat you or not. So,
did you ever feel like any type of notch in your belt for those years that you had that defeated Chuck Liddell there while he was like exploding in his career?
No, not really.
No,
like I said,
You're too humble, man. I would have talked shit nonstop about that, about how I beat Chuck Liddell. I do it now, and I haven't even beat him, but I still talk it. But you never ran up it and nothing.
People give me a hard time. So I've won lots of titles in smaller organizations all around the world, and they are stored in like a Rubbermaid tote under a shelf.
You just put under the bed somewhere.
I don't really care about that stuff. I love to fight. I love to compete. I love to train. I want to train other people.
I'm going to have you hang one of those up in my office, man. And then you could sign it, and then I'll sign it too. I was actually part of it.
Take a
you
picture.
Know what I mean? I was part of the team or
there
something like that. You know what I mean? So you fought Chuck Liddell, Dan Severn, Frank Shamrock, Chael Sonnen, and Forrest Griffin. Crazy story one time. I went to UFC. This is the first one they did out in Boston with UFC, and Randy Couture was fighting in Boston. He fought, I think it was a boxer like Tony.
James Toney.
James Toney, yeah. And it was a big match with MMA, and they kind of blew it up there. But what was crazy was as I was walking through the streets of Boston, kind of head to the arena, I ran into Forrest Griffin, and he was not fighting that week, but he was there, of course, and he was at kind of a outdoor bar area, and there was a group around him already, and small group, and so I remember walking up and seeing. I got to watch a ton of his fights and so forth, and Ultimate Fighter and so forth. But I remember the first time I walked up and took a photo with him, and I remember thinking to myself, dude, this guy is like a different body type athlete that really does remind you of this like Roman Empire gladiator, it's like a man standing around boys, if you will.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
I was blown away by how massive this guy was.
Yep.
And you don't really see it until you're close beside those fighters of like the difference of, and then of course in Boston there was a lot of guys not fighting, but a lot of guys that were juiced up and they were all beside him hanging out. They were trying to get photos, and dude, he was making those guys look small in nature compared to him. And he won the UFC 205, I think, light heavyweight for a while.
Right.
But even and it was crazy if you think about his career, you wouldn't probably say he was one of the greatest like top fighters of all time in his career. But even at that caliber, he was still just a beast among other guys. It's amazing. So I think same thing like NFL or NBA, right? You go to an NBA game and you're like, wow, these guys are freakishly tall and moving this fast. It's amazing how athletic you guys are. Last question I have here for you. I'm gonna do a fun little game here with you. But out of all your wins that you've had, which one would you say is your favorite when you look back and say, man, that was a cool win. I'm glad I got it.
It would have to be that fight with Forrest.
The fight with Forrest?
Yeah.
What was that fight? Tell me, UFC, give me a little bit of background on it there.
So we actually fought in the second round of an 8-man tournament.
Okay.
So they don't do tournaments anymore, but they used to, and they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Getting to fight 3 or 4 times in one night is...
They stopped that. That was crazy because the adrenaline, you would pump it
best.
out that first match, right? And then you may have 3 more matches left.
Yep.
And that adrenaline drop has got to be just like coming off a cliff with the adrenaline dropping off. And then you got to go fight 3 more times.
Yep.
So you fought Forrest Griffin in an 8-man competition.
Right.
That was your favorite win, you say. Why is that your favorite win?
It's kind of hard to explain. So as a competitor in pretty much anything, it's very standard that after you're done, you look back and evaluate your own performance. And win or lose, like I could have done this better, I should have done that, I missed this opportunity, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And you always beat yourself up after every performance. Well, that fight, I feel like I came as close to fighting at my full potential.
Yeah.
Like I look back at that fight and go, okay, I could have done that better, but otherwise I did really well.
Yeah.
And normally I'm just kicking myself after every fight and like, should have done this, could have done that, this should have been better. But in that fight, I don't know, everything was on point that night and I fought really well. So
you think that's part of what has brought you success in life is that self-evaluation, constantly pushing yourself like that?
I think so. I think that's a big part of it. Like I said, I've been really fortunate to find what I love to do and be able to make a living out of it. So it makes it easy to evaluate that because, I want to get better at something I love to do. If you hate your job, you don't care about getting better at it.
Right.
You want to be good enough to keep it. That's about it.
Yeah.
But if you love what you're doing, then you're going to be constantly striving to get better and find ways to push harder.
Yeah. I want to hit this little section here with you that we call rapid fire. And so I'm going to go through some Jeremy Horn, what we call rapid fire questions. And I got, 6 or 8 of them here. These are going to be just whatever comes to your mind, random questions, okay? They won't all be MMA based here. Just the first thing comes to your mind, and then I'll circle back and hit some questions, follow up here with you, okay? What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say the word TikTok?
A clock.
Okay, great answer. Who's the bigger? What's the bigger badasses? Old school MMA or current MMA?
Old school by far.
Old school is just total
By
level.
far.
All right, I'm gonna come back to that one right there. Worst ways to lose in a fight: KO, submission, or decision?
That's a tough one. Probably submission.
Submission.
Yep.
Hate it. Don't want to lose that way. Because that's also what you're kind of known for is your grappling skill set, right? So does it suck more losing? Is that why you chose that one? It sucks more losing at like your strength?
No, just because if you lose by knockout, there could be an element of luck there. Anybody can swing a
fighter's
wild
punch.
punch, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you get submitted, generally it's because that guy was clearly better than you.
I got you. I see. Let's see here. Hardest punch you've ever taken. Minus to me. Don't do mine. We did earlier.
Yeah.
Just do another one.
It'd be a toss-up between my second fight with Chuck or a guy I fought in Holland named Khalid Arab.
Khalid Arab.
Yeah. Both those guys punch insanely hard.
Extremely hard.
Yeah.
So Chuck, obviously, I know Chuck punches hard, but it really is like next level power that he had.
So most of the time, when you're in a fight, your adrenaline's running. You're not really feeling much.
Yeah.
And when you get hit, there's really only a couple of different things that happen. Either the guy doesn't hit hard enough and it doesn't bother you, so you just go on with your day, or the guy hits hard enough that he hurts you and you're wobbly and you're kind of fighting on instinct anyway, or he hits you and you're just not there anymore because you're asleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he hit me, like I feel like you're walking down the runway and like flash bulbs are going off.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
That's how hard he hit you right there.
Who was that? Who threw that brick at me? It's so.
That's crazy, man. Let's see. All right, here's a good. Would you rather? Okay, so you're gonna choose one of these right here. Would you rather have Nancy Pelosi visit your gym and you give her a jiu-jitsu lesson, or would you rather grapple for an hour with Joe Biden in his basement?
Wow.
This is a win-win for you at this
point. It is.
Point.
That is a win-win. I think I have to go with Biden.
Joe Biden in the creepy basement?
Yeah.
That's where we're going to head off to. And because you don't have the hair, it helps you because there won't be the sniffing involved.
I have nothing to sniff.
Yeah, so that would be a benefit for you. So that gives you a fighter's advantage there,
well,
I think.
and then there's nobody there, so
yeah,
I could maybe just
whatever happens at that point. Yeah. Here we go. Let's do who wins in a free-for-all type match, okay?
Okay.
Every man for himself. We got Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bruce Lee, or Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris, hands down.
Chuck Norris?
Yep.
Beats Bruce Lee, you think?
Bruce Lee was an actor.
Just an actor?
Yeah. He was a good martial artist, but he never fought. And there's a lot of speculation as to what his fighting ability actually was.
Would have been, yeah.
Chuck Norris was a legit kickboxer.
Yeah.
As was Van Damme, but I think Chuck Norris had better credentials and did a little bit more.
Yeah, Chuck Norris is one of those guys that is crazy that he doesn't age.
Right.
Like if you go back and watch like Walker, Texas Ranger, and now him at like 83.
Right.
It's like the exact same guy, dude. It's incredible, his genes. All right, grittiest, toughest fighter you've competed against. Just the scrappiest fighter that you had to get in that ring and fight against.
Man, I don't know. I don't really get into that much because like being gritty doesn't help you from getting choked unconscious. So.
Yeah, this question came from Drew Morin, so I'd probably put Drew's name.
Yeah, he just marked that down as came from an idiot.
Came from an idiot. Okay, got it. I'm going to put that down right here. Drew Morin came from an idiot. Here we go. Current politician that you think would make a good fighter.
Dan Crenshaw.
Yeah, dude, that's a good one, man. Dan Crenshaw.
He probably is. Not
he probably is a fighter,
he probably
right?
is.
Yeah, great guy, great politician. You get one last question I got for you, rapid fire. You get one round in the cage against anyone in D.C. politics. Who do you choose? One round.
Beto O'Rourke.
Who?
Beto.
Beto. Down in Texas. Like to go one round live in the octagon with Beto.
Yes.
All right, I want to go back. These are good answers, man. I want to go back to, you said earlier that on rapid fire, the biggest badass was old school MMA versus current MMA.
Yes.
And you said old school MMA.
Yes.
What is that? Why you say that? What does that mean?
Well, because the sport was a lot looser. Granted, like the fighters are better today skill-wise, but they are like guys train for weeks, maybe months to fight one time with gloves and a pretty limited rule set. Back in the day, you were doing the best you could with no gloves and very limited rules, and you might be fighting a guy way bigger than you that's going to take you down and stomp on your face.
Yeah.
Now, you can't kick somebody to the head on the ground. You can't knee him to the head of the ground. There's limited use of elbows. You're wearing gloves.
Right. No eye gouging.
Yeah.
Those are my go-to moves. You know what I mean? That's why I start with the fish hook. Yeah. And all those came illegal. But back in the day, dude, I remember some of those old school MMA. There was some hardcore like groin shots.
Oh, absolutely.
That was totally legal at that time.
Yeah.
That was allowed. So you're saying just like how they kind of fought.
Yeah.
The style they were, and I think also a little bit that mindset of like earlier you were talking about going in there and saying, well, I'm gonna have to go 4 fights tonight to figure out who's the champ. To me, that even like that style is like another level of fighting. Having to go like that right there. You're talking about earlier. You just mentioned kind of getting face stomps and stuff like this. I got a couple of videos here.
Okay.
That I want to show you of you fighting, and I want to kind of give get your like insight on it and kind of your input of what you think about some of these fights here that we have here. Okay, so I got 2 of them for you.
Okay.
Now this first one, do you know who this is right now?
I think so. Yeah, he looks familiar.
So this is Chael Sonnen.
Yeah.
I don't know which number it was, 1 through 3, but this
is our third fight.
This is a third fight right here. Okay, so watch this right here. Guess watch it. This is you and Chael Sonnen. Do you remember what UFC this was, by the way?
I want to say it was like 60 something.
Around the 60s?
61, 62, something like that.
Okay, here we go. Watch this Chael Sonnen fight right here. That's the team right there.
Yeah.
All right, man, there you go. So this was around UFC 60, you said. This is your third match of Chael Sonnen.
Yep.
Give us a little bit of background here. Do you know where that was fought at? Was it Vegas, or do you know?
Honestly, I don't remember. I think it was Vegas, but I'm not certain.
And then you're fighting Chael Sonnen. Now, were you guys kind of friends back there, acquaintances?
Yes and no. I mean, Chael's always been a good guy, but the week of the fight, you don't really.
Sure.
You're not trying to pal around with each other, so you're kind of standoffish. But yeah, I mean, there's never been any animosity between he and I.
Okay, so then you're fighting him, and my background is I've always have freaking loved Chael Sonnen since he came on the scene there, and I've loved him because in my business it's all about building a brand,
Sure.
which I'm like love the idea of building a brand, and I thought, dude, Chael Sonnen is the guy that freaking out of the gate to me on UFC understood how to build a brand around himself when like a lot of other fighters didn't, and he probably literally talked his way into more fights that were like high dollar, massive pay-per-view payouts for him when probably his skill set was not actually there at that level. And I think it's probably proven, but he lost most of those matches, I think. But I thought, dude, I just loved that he came in there and kind of built this brand when other people weren't, right?
Right.
I want to come back to that conversation a little bit, but dude, you're fighting like one of my favorite fighters right here, and you put him in this armbar. Tell me give us like a step by step. What's going on right here?
Well, so it's kind of an interesting little backstory, but that was our third fight, right? So the first time we fought, I was scheduled to fight, and my opponent got hurt, and so he stepped in at the last minute on like a week's notice to fight, and I won. The second time we fought, he was scheduled to fight, and his opponent got hurt, and I stepped in on like 2 weeks' notice and beat him again.
Yeah.
So this was actually the very first time that we were actually scheduled to fight each other and knew what was coming in. But as far as the sequence goes here, it's just you know in jiu-jitsu you have to keep going. You got to keep moving and chaining things together. So I tried to submit him a couple of times with a variety of things, but you just got to keep moving. I try this, he defends this, so I move on to this, and he defends that. So I just.
Because it looked like you were originally going for a triangle right there.
Yeah, so I first went for an arm lock, and that he defended that well. So I went for a different type of arm lock, and he defended that fairly well. So then I went for a triangle, and he started defending that, and then I went to this arm lock. So this was actually like my fourth attack in this sequence.
Yeah,
to get
kind of from your back right there. There was like your fourth one from there, and the last one, of course, the arm bar got him. Uniquely on that one, dude, he submitted quick.
Yeah,
like on that one, like he was actually saying submit and tapping at the same time. Why was there any difference of why he went so fast? I mean, sometimes you see guys last longer in the arm bar or whatever it is. That was a quick one though.
Right. So that was a little bit of a looser arm lock. So you got to hit it pretty hard to get it because if you've got a good secure position, then you can apply pressure a little more slowly.
Yeah.
If you want to. Some people try to break arms anyway.
Yeah.
But in that position, it wasn't quite as secure. So I had to hit it pretty hard and pretty fast. If I give him any time, he probably would have got out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hit it hard and fast, and he was shrieking.
The fast pressure, more pressure immediately off of it versus more of a slow grind into it. I got you. That makes sense. So you beat him right here for the third time ever. You guys don't fight again.
Nope.
Professionally, do you guys ever fight again? In the gyms or anything like that?
No.
When you beat him right here, does he any parting words he says to you right here?
Like I said, it's kind of the cat's out of the bag now. So the whole thing with Chael is really kind of an act.
Yeah.
He's actually a really nice guy, and everything that he does is to build up
his brand,
and
Yeah.
to build up attention for fights. So he's always been very complimentary, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but you can see that as soon as he taps and I let go, I start to get up and he grabs my leg
Yeah.
because he wanted to say something to me, you know.
Yeah,
But that's just how he is. He's always been a
Was
good
this
guy.
before or after he was fighting Anderson Silva?
I believe this was before.
Before all the Anderson
Yeah.
Silva matches there.
He actually told me that after he fought Anderson the first time, he came real close to beating
Oh
him.
yeah.
So at the press conference after the fight, they do their thing, and I was kind of standing in the background. And as he came walking out, he grabbed me and he goes, "Hey man, I just wanted you to know, had I beat Anderson, I was going to challenge you again." You know, so.
Do you think talking about Chael for a second? You beat him there with the armbar,
Mm-hmm.
and then to me, one of the tragic fights of his career was the Anderson Silva.
Right.
You know, he literally, to me, beat him to a pulp for 5 rounds basically. Right. Did a great job. And then the last, whatever it was, 60 seconds, you know, I think everybody knew he was about to become the champion.
Right.
And at that moment in time, take down the GOAT.
Right.
And to me, it was like a pinnacle point of really almost UFC fighting because of how high Anderson Silva was. And he talked a little bit about sports psychiatry after he lost. And I don't know if you remember hearing about any of this stuff right here, where he talked
not
about
much.
where he almost felt like there was a mental block he had
Sure.
about becoming actually like not just fighting, but no, he didn't not a mental block there, but actually like becoming that champ.
I can
And he
see
went to a
that,
lot of sports psychiatrists to try to overcome mentally, like almost were like accepting, dude, you do deserve this type
I
of
can absolutely see that. There's
publicity.
there's a lot of people that deal with those kinds of things because it's really hard to put all your effort and all your heart and all your energy into something and then still come up short.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have a tendency to they kind of build in an excuse. You know,
Yeah,
I see
yeah.
a lot of guys that will train for fights and they'll train not as hard as they should, and they know
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Because that way, when you lose the fight, you can say, "Well, I didn't really that really wasn't my best.
Yeah.
If I trained my best, then blah blah blah."
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of psychology that goes into fighting and things of that nature. You know, just convincing yourself that, hey, I do deserve this. I am good enough to do this.
I see that a lot with money as well, right? This kind of same concept with the psychiatry side of it, almost to the point where sometimes people don't believe they actually deserve to be wealthy, you know, to have a lot of money. It's almost like there's a psychological break there.
Sure.
That they almost like punish themselves to a certain degree of saying, I don't deserve it.
Right.
When really, of course, they do. And it was unique that Chael went through this whole, you know, talked a lot about it in his career. Anyway, so moving on here, I got this next little scene here that I want to show you, and I want you to tell me what about this one right here. So first of all, you know where this one is?
I do, yes.
It sounds like you do because you laugh right
Yes,
away.
yes.
So tell me about where you're at right here.
So I'm laying on my back in the middle of a ring. But no, I'm not. This was a fight in Pride in
Yeah.
Japan.
So this, you flew to Japan.
Yes.
You're in Japan right now fighting. Do you know who you're fighting right now?
Yeah, that's a guy named Gilbert Ivel. His nickname is the Hurricane, and it suits him well. He is probably the most disqualified fighter in the history of the sport.
Really?
He is an incredibly dirty fighter, or at least he was at the time. He was known for anything dirty that he could do. If he needed to win, he had no problem with it.
And he kind of had that reputation throughout all the fighters as well.
Yep.
So this is you over in Pride Fighting Championship. You're fighting the Hurricane, you said.
Yep.
All right, so walk us. I'm going to play this, and then let's talk about it for a second here.
Mm-hmm.
A little head kick.
Yeah.
All right, so take us there. You're Japan.
Yep.
Flew over there. Do you remember about how old you are right there?
I don't. I probably.
Was this
mid to
before
late
UFC,
20s.
after UFC?
I think this was somewhere in the middle. I think I had a couple of fights in the UFC.
Okay.
And then I went back to the UFC after these couple of fights.
Gotcha. So you go over here, you fight Pride, and you're fighting this guy, the Hurricane, and walk us through what happened right there.
Well, you tried to stomp on my face.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. I want to go in great detail and explain how that felt.
Well, so generally when you have a 230-pound man's heel driving into your eye socket,
Yeah.
it feels an incredible amount of pressure. Your brain wants to come out of the back.
Is there a possibility you'd have a headache after the fight?
Maybe.
Yeah, but probably a Tylenol would fix it, and that's it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Couple
just
of
one or
beers.
two, right?
Yeah.
So he does a head kick here to you to the side, and then a little punch, and then a head stomp there.
Yeah.
And now, is the head stomp, is that legal now?
It's not anymore. It
Yeah.
was legal in Japan. It's still legal in Japan. It was legal in Pride, but that's kind of one of the things I was talking about. This is more of an old school MMA fight.
Right.
There were still some rules in Pride. They don't allow elbows, but that's what you're going to see in a realistic fight.
That's no longer allowed in UFC. The head stomp right there.
Correct.
Uniquely enough, though, I want to talk about you actually still win the fight.
Yes.
Because the video clip I showed right there, like you were getting absolutely destroyed. However, I did show the end of the fight where they actually raised your hand right there. How did you end up winning that fight?
Well, so that clip that you saw there was, I mean, it was a 20-minute fight, and that was, 5 seconds.
Okay.
So the majority of the fight, I was able to take him down and control him and come real close to submitting him a couple of times.
So was that a decision fight?
Yeah, it went to a decision.
You fought the whole 20 minutes there
Yep.
and won decision of the fight right there. I got you. I didn't know if you submitted him or not there. So it was a decision fight.
Right.
Tell me this: Pride fighting, UFC fighting. Which one was? Is there one that was tougher than the other one, or?
No, not really. I mean, I guess it depends on how you define tough. Sometimes strategically, it can be harder to win a fight versus like physically tough, more abusive. But the Pride and the UFC were different. Pride did it in a boxing ring, obviously,
right?
So people could slide out under a rope and you get restarted more. But they also had looser and more forgiving rules. They also had a different time structure. Pride would do a 10-minute first round and then two shorter 5-minute rounds after that. So yeah, it's hard to compare the two. They were different.
Is there one that you preferred fighting in over the other one?
No, not really. It really depended on who the opponent was.
Okay.
With a cage to pin somebody against to take them down.
Yeah.
Made it a little easier to take people down. But people that were good at scooting over to the ropes, they'd get stand-ups a lot in the ring.
Yeah.
So, it depends on whether or not you were a superior wrestler, whether or not you could take them down over and over versus having to pin them against the cage to take them down, but then, them squirming away from you. So
it didn't bother you. You didn't really mind if you fought Pride, UFC, either one.
No, not really.
Now, obviously, I think UFC ends up buying out Pride.
They did.
Eventually, maybe a decade ago or so by now. But there was a lot of controversy with Pride about the steroids being used on Pride, way looser standards and
Very much so.
checks and so forth. Is that, in your opinion, was that kind of a true let's call it conspiracy, if you will?
No, it was real.
It was real.
Absolutely.
There was a lot less rules over there.
Yeah, they didn't care, and it's kind of good and bad. The Japanese crowd, the Japanese sports fans. They're just huge fans of the entertainment. They're huge fans of pro wrestling. I don't know if you follow that at all, but they just love any athlete that's willing to get into a ring and get your ass kicked for their entertainment. They love you.
Yeah.
So they don't really care. They don't really care if you lose. They don't really care. They don't even really care if it's real.
Yeah.
You're gonna get in there and put on a show, and they love it. They really treat fighters like superstars over there. So
there's a lot of controversy that Pride was a little bit staged at some point.
Somewhere, yeah, because they had some favorites. They love seeing their local Japanese heroes beat foreign fighters. So some of them were staged. Yeah.
Yes, you think some of them were?
Oh, I know they were.
You know they were.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that was a conspiracy for a while that some of those fights were staged. Even some of the they accused Fedor of some of his fights being staged over there.
It's an interesting point. I don't know particularly about Fedor, but. People talk about fixing a fight. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. If you and I agree that I'm going to win, then that's obviously a fixed fight.
Right.
But I don't have to know. Somebody could pay you to lose, and I don't know.
Yeah, you would never know.
It's still a fixed fight.
Sure.
Or this is another one that a lot of people don't really understand. But if I am, a top 10 fighter in the world, and I'm undefeated, and you don't even know how to spell MMA, and you agree to fight me, is that a fixed fight?
Right.
Like, do we all know what's going to happen in that fight?
Like a tin can type thing.
So, I mean, technically, that's kind of a fixed fight, too, even though both guys are going to try.
Right.
But,
It's like almost like if you remember that Mike Tyson fight when he came out and he fought that. Oh gosh, I can't remember. It's a funny clip on YouTube. It's that fighter out of Boston who took the fight the last minute. McNeely.
Yep.
Dude, that was such a crazy. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Are we gonna count this? Kind of what you're saying there. There's zero chance that dude was gonna freaking win.
Yeah. So
he didn't even have a puncher's chance of that fight. I would say.
Yeah.
In that fight there. Talk about, you made me think about something a while ago. You talked about how in Japan they love wrestling, even the fake wrestling type stuff. And I was just watching a fight a couple nights ago at a local place, and we were talking about a fighter, Cain Velasquez. I don't know if you follow his career now.
A little bit.
But dude, he was obviously a heavyweight stud for a while. And I'll never forget when he literally stuffed Brock Lesnar's takedown. I was like, oh my God, dude. Like literally stood him up on a full-on takedown move. Like, dude, that guy's core strength has got to be out of control
Very
to be able to
much
do
so.
that. And great heavyweight champion there. And the next thing you know, he's like in Mexico fighting with like the uniforms and the
Yep.
mask and flying around in a ring in Mexico all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Do you follow his career of him doing that?
No, not. I, mean, I know that he did, but not since he left.
Do you know why
the
he did
sport.
or anything like that? I just heard about this like maybe 6 months ago.
I don't really know. I mean, obviously, there might be some ties to to the Mexican heritage. I know he's real big on that. So, and obviously the Mexican pro wrestling league is big. It's super popular down there as well. So maybe there's some ties there. But it also could be that maybe he's doing it because he's looking to make some money and it's something he enjoys again. So I don't know.
It's crazy. And you always fought. What weight class was your main weight class that you kind of stayed in? For
I
the most
bounced
part?
around quite a bit because I started fighting before the weight classes were kind of established the way they are now.
Yeah.
So back then I've always weighed about 200 pounds. So I'd fought, at one point it was called middleweight, 199. And then for a while that became light heavyweight because they made middleweight 185.
185, yep.
And then I dropped down to middleweight for some fights. I would go up to heavyweight for some fights. So always, I bounced around a little bit.
Gotcha.
I don't know if I had a main weight class.
I'll talk to you about this right here. Obviously, I talked about your career as like long standing fighting career, right? This isn't like a 2-year career. You're how many years are you into it, would you say right now?
25.
I was gonna say you're probably 20 plus years.
Yeah.
You're 25 years into it now. You came on the scene early in MMA. I want to talk to a question here. I thought, knowing your history and longevity, and especially those early days there of MMA and UFC, you got any like crazy behind the scenes kind of stories of that world that you could share with us? To the spectators that maybe don't watch it, don't get to see behind the scenes with you?
I don't know if there's anything too crazy. I'm really kind of a hermit.
Uh-huh.
So when I would go to the fights, a lot of times I would not do a whole lot. Although interesting that you have this one brought up. I don't know if you can rewind that a little bit, but
Jake, can you rewind it?
So we were in Japan, me and my cornerman, and this is back when you guys know airsoft guns.
The guns, yeah.
They weren't here in the U.S. yet,
Okay,
but they were big in Japan.
okay,
And so we found some.
yeah.
And me and my buddies decided to buy some airsoft guns, and we were running around downtown Tokyo going crazy, shooting each other with airsoft guns. So if you rewind it back to where they announced the fight, you can see I've got a big cut on my nose.
Yeah,
that wasn't from the fight.
That was not from the. I thought it was from
No.
the stomp right
That
there.
that was because I had a airsoft gun and a buddy of mine hit me, and I hit myself in the face with it the night before my fight.
And that's how you got that mark right there.
Yeah.
I thought it was from
So that's why I got all the marks on my face.
Yeah.
I've got a big cut across my nose.
Did you wear goggles or no goggles?
no.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, it was,
that makes-
safety before a major fight. Why?
No, why
bother?
would you do that? Fly to Japan and then I want to hit some of your Jeremy Horn favorites here. So kind of another section here,
All right.
so they get to know you a little bit more here of some of your favorite things that you have here. Again, I probably got 10 or 12 of these, and then I want to spend some time talking about your kind of police initiative that you got going on,
Awesome.
which I'm passionate about with you here. Number one, do you have a favorite kind of MMA influencer that's influenced your life a lot?
I don't know if I could have a favorite. I've got several. I mean, obviously I trained with Pat Miletich. He was
He's
a
an old-time
big
stud,
influence.
yeah.
All the guys there. I mean,
I saw in the earlier fight that I showed you a while ago, you were Rich Franklin.
Yep.
Was in the looks like on your team maybe or
Yep.
in the
Yeah,
in
the
back
entire
room.
Midwest crew, we all trained together. Obviously, Matt Hughes, Rich Franklin, Jens Pulver, Tim Sylvia, Robbie Lawler, we all trained together for a long time. So those were all big influences, big training partners of mine. Marcelo Garcia is another one that's a big influence of mine. He's a grappling legend.
Mhm.
Probably will go down as one of the best, if not the best ever.
Grapplers.
But he had one fight and he didn't really care for it, but he's in the grappling world is
King of it.
redefining the sport.
Yeah. You mentioned a while ago just in that list there. I mean, obviously you just named it again some crazy Hall of Fame athletes right there in UFC that you just mentioned. And I heard you mention Matt Hughes.
Mhm.
I thought, dude, that story of him it's crazy. And then I watch, it's also inspiring.
Yeah.
Watching him come back from it and slowly start to
Right.
redevelop some. Did you get to reach out to him, talk to him at all through any of that stuff right there?
A little bit. He stays pretty busy with obviously therapy and kind of recollecting himself. But yeah, we've been in touch a little bit here and there, and he was at my last fight.
He was giving your last fight,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
I loved watching him come up, and he had the twin brother,
Mhm.
which I thought was so cool because his twin brother was always in his corner. always, and then it's just a tragic story. There was a lot of speculation there that almost like he did it, might have did it on purpose. You ever hear that speculation?
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Obviously, when I moved to Utah, obviously distance kind of, we didn't stay in touch that much, but I heard a little bit about that too. I don't know much
crazy
about it.
story.
Yeah.
But now you watch it, dude, and I hate it for him, but it is inspiring him now beating that thing right there, dude. He was a legend in the sport as well. Do you listen, or do you have a favorite podcast you listen to?
Not really. I stay pretty busy. I'll turn some on in the background here and there. I mean, I listen to Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder and guys like that. I'll listen.
So
to
not
those
MMA, but more.
No, I don't really listen to a lot of the MMA
Because
stuff.
Chael Sonnen had that podcast that was really big for a while.
Right, and obviously Rogan is a staple in everybody's library. So, but mostly it's just turn some on, give me some background
You'll get that
music
Ben
and
Shapiro,
noise to listen to. Yeah,
give me all the facts.
Yep.
Of what's going on. What's your favorite holiday?
I don't like holidays.
You don't like holidays? No. Zero.
Nope.
You celebrate them?
Nope.
You don't even celebrate them?
Nope.
You got kids?
Nope.
You don't have kids?
Nope.
Okay, makes more sense. Then maybe you don't have this answer right here as well. Do you have a favorite Christmas movie?
I do actually. A Christmas Story.
A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
And that's the one with the Red Ryder BB gun, the airsoft.
Shoot your eye
You were
out.
very, very close to the actual movie.
Exactly.
What makes that one your favorite, man?
It's funny. Just,
Did you grow up with it?
Yeah.
Watching
You watch it every year, right?
Yeah, as a kid, watching that one coming up. That's a great one. Let's see. Who is your current favorite MMA fighter that's currently fighting?
Wow. I don't know. I maybe Stipe.
Stipe?
Yeah.
He just fought
Yeah.
last night with Dan
won,
Cormier.
Won the title. Yeah.
And won, defended it. He defended it,
yeah.
right? Because
Won it
Cormier was
again,
coming after
yeah.
it. That was the rubber match, I think.
Yeah.
With those two. Those are two great fighters as well, Cormier and Stipe there. If he's your favorite current one, let's just say, what would be your favorite retired MMA fighter?
I don't know. I'm a huge fan of the sport. I may be a bigger fan of the sport
Than individuals itself?
Yeah. I've always been a huge fan of any fighter that fights with more technique than athleticism. Like I don't like seeing big, strong athletes that just brawl like idiots. So guys like BJ Penn, that were, fighting up a weight class. I mean, BJ fought at 145 and he also fought at 210.
Yeah, crazy, right?
And he was just as competitive in all of them.
But
and
you never
because of his level
fought
of
him.
technique. No.
You never fought him. You ever spar with him or anything?
Yeah, I got to train with him a bit. He's really, really good.
Yeah, really tough.
Yeah.
On that note, right there, talking about technique. What's your thoughts on GSP?
Incredible. Very,
Yeah.
very talented.
I mean,
fighter.
from the outside looking in, GSP, from a spectator, is just to me like a freak who breaks everything down and knows his opponent to me better than anybody else that fights.
He's the epitome of what a martial artist should be.
I was asking from a fighter standpoint.
Absolutely.
What's your thoughts on him?
Excellent. I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a fan of him as a fighter, but I'm a bigger fan of his as a person and as an ambassador to the sport.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's
He's
just
done
a
everything
machine,
right
but
that's
yeah, he's
out there,
done
bro.
everything right. He's always respectful. He's always in shape. He always fights hard. He's very talented, very skilled.
Yeah. Very respectful.
Physically gifted. Yeah.
Huge fan base as well.
Yeah.
You ever train with him or anything?
Early on, we got to train together a little bit, just a couple of times.
Yeah.
But one of the fights that I had up in Canada, he fought on the same card as me a few times back when he was just getting started.
Back when he's early days, huh?
Yep.
Let's see. This is a question here. Your favorite martial art discipline?
Got to be jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Favorite? Do you have a favorite fighting movie?
Wow. I think it would probably have to be Bloodsport.
Bloodsport?
Van Damme. That's
That's
what
old
got
school, man.
every kid.
Dude, that
started,
was like, everybody went and did kickboxing after Bloodsport, man. Do you have a favorite fictional martial artist? Jean-Claude Van Damme?
I don't know. I mean, define fictional.
I guess movie-based. Jackie Chan?
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Although I don't know if I'd call him fictional because he's
He's a fighter, right?
talented as well, too.
What about all the places you fought and traveled to? What's been your favorite place to travel and fight?
Japan, by far.
Really? You like it over there?
Yeah.
I always thought it'd be crazy, the time differences and everything.
The time travel does suck, but the amount of respect and appreciation you get from the fans in Japan is overwhelming.
I'm gonna go away from MMA for a second. What's your favorite firearm you own?
I have an STI Staccato P.
That's your favorite one you own?
Yeah.
And what's your favorite firearm to shoot?
Probably the same.
Same one?
Yeah.
And the last question here for you, what is your favorite politician? And those have nothing to do with each other, by the way. Just a politician. That was probably the wrong order I asked those in.
I mean, I don't like any politicians. I think they're all
Yeah.
pretty much garbage.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I guess in that hierarchy, there's got to be a favorite there somewhere, but I don't know who it would be.
Dan Kershaw.
Yeah, he seems to be.
You
pretty good.
seem like you're a pretty big Beto fan too.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, it seems like
Makes
you're
a
all
great punching bag.
Great here, man. I got this predictions here thing I want to do with you.
Okay.
And it's a new thing. I just started making some predictions of different. I'm gonna have you 3 different ones here for predictions that we got here, and let me go through some of these here with you. We'll have you predict a couple things, and we'll talk about your movement you got going on.
Right.
Here we go. This is the Conor McGregor, right? And you ever train or fight anything with him? Connection. He came on a little bit later in the career there. Here's the question that we got for you: will Conor McGregor fight in the UFC again? And look at the change of face there.
I think he probably will.
You think he will?
I think so.
Because he's retired like a handful of times and so forth. I mean, I love the guy. I got his signed stuff in my office. But
He's got more money than he will ever need. But I think that the reason he is as good as he is because he's another one. He's a lifelong martial artist and he's a strong competitor. So I think sooner or later there will be something interesting that will pull him out and he'll want to fight again. Somebody new will show up and he'll be like, I want to fight that guy.
You think he'll fight UFC again or boxing first? He did pretty good against Mayweather, man.
Mayweather carried him.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
You watched that fight?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Who are you going for?
I don't really care so much who wins. I want to watch the fight, and as long as they both fight well, I'm happy. But yeah, Mayweather absolutely carried him.
Yeah. Here we go. Next one I got for you here, prediction here. So that's a yes, he'll fight in UFC again.
I think so.
Next one I got for you is who wins the UFC lightweight championship? Those are 2 studs, man.
Yeah, that is.
Those are 2 great ones. Corey, are they on the docket to fight soon? Yeah. They're coming up, aren't they? Yeah. This is great because I'm gonna put you on Instagram on this one when the fight's over.
So, man, that's a tough one. I think probably Khabib.
Khabib.
But that's a close one.
Yeah.
So Khabib is definitely good enough to take him down and hold him down some. But can he hold him down nonstop? And Gaethje is hard enough to take down that if he can stop Khabib for just a few moments and land a handful of punches, he could turn the tide of the fight. So that's
Have you seen Khabib ever take some shots like that before?
He's taken a few, and he generally responds pretty well. But he fought a guy early in his UFC career. I'm drawing a blank on his name. I think it was Trujillo. And there's a lot of people that think Khabib lost that fight. That he was kind of gifted a decision in that fight.
Gotcha. Because correct me if I'm wrong here, from a fighter standpoint, to me, I know he won, but to me, he kind of dominated Conor McGregor.
Oh yeah, he beat the crap out of him.
It wasn't like a close match.
Close,
it was pretty one-sided on that fight right there. So who do you got? Who you gonna go with?
I think Khabib.
You think Khabib?
So it's hard to count him out.
Yeah. Last one I got for you here as a prediction away from MMA is we've got. Let's see. Here we go. Which way will Utah vote in 2020?
Ugh. I mean, I hope Republican.
You think it'll happen?
I don't know. I hope. Can I go with a hope instead of a prediction?
A prayer?
Yeah.
With a prayer on this one. You'll hope and pray that the Republican pulls it off in Utah.
Yeah.
Because to me, like so much changes in 2020 depends on
everything's up in the air. Like
of what
start flipping
happens,
coins
man.
and just hope
and pray and hope this thing goes through. I want to end this kind of interview here with. Talking about your kind of passion project that you got going on right now, which I'm in love with. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on there.
So I'm a huge supporter of law enforcement and military and veterans and everybody that's putting their own lives on the line to try to protect us. So I'm trying to put together a program to help sponsor cops to get the training that they need to do their job better. They get crapped on all the time by everybody, and people don't understand how little training they get and how little resources they have at their disposal. So I'm just trying to put together a program that will help them out.
So I'm going to dive a little bit deeper here with you. So if I understand it right, you're going in kind of to police departments sometimes and offering your knowledge, expertise on grappling, hand-to-hand combat, which obviously a lot of police deal with a lot more hand-to-hand combat than anything else that's out there. And your objective is try to help the police officers
Yes.
understand how to do it, the right techniques and so forth. And you're doing it really as a, again, I'm gonna call it a passion project you got going on to try to help the police. In a world that we live in right now of the defund the police that's taking place,
Yeah.
it's kind of a crazy concept where we're saying defund the police, but then also make them live to a higher standard quality in training and so forth. When if you take the money away, there's not much training now,
Right.
and then you take that away, there's gonna be less training inside
Right.
of it. And this is not across the board, across all police departments here, but you gave some crazy stats earlier that some police departments only have 4 hours
Right.
a year
Right.
kind of allocated to training that takes place there.
Yeah.
In a year of training, they come in and that's what they get
Yeah.
all the time.
Really the only training they get is what they will seek out on their own after their work schedule's over. But they don't make enough money as it is, so most of them work in 2 and 3, second, third, fourth jobs. So their schedules are tough. And they just don't have the time to get it done, or the money if they do have the time. So
And I always go back to the concept of again, I think in every industry there's ways to improve and be better in every industry, including the police department and my industry, right? I don't think that changes for any industry, but I always look at that when I watch the news and stuff, and my immediate reaction is to kind of always give the benefit of the doubt in these tough, horrible situations to the police, and not that they're always innocent. There's times that they were wrong, but my initial kind of reaction for me is always I kind of go with them, because when you watch those videos of how fast something normal goes horrible, and when they're getting shot or punched or whatever it is, dude, some of that stuff is literally in a blink of an eye.
Oh, absolutely.
That takes place.
It's split-second decisions, and it's always easy to look back afterwards and say, well, that was a bad choice. Should have done this, and this, and this would have been better. But
hindsight's always 20/20,
Yeah.
especially when it's in slow motion.
Well, and what people don't understand is if these decisions are made wrong, the cop could potentially die.
Right.
And, again, it's easy to make decisions afterwards, but put anybody in that decision and say, okay, you're not sure what's going on there, but if you make the wrong choice, you're dead.
You're not going to.
You're
your
always
wife,
going to
your
opt.
family, your kids.
Yes,
never see
exactly.
Again.
You're going to choose whatever takes you home safe at night.
Yeah. It's a brutal job position to be in. I would never want to be in that position,
Right.
and so like I said, I always have an understanding ear to them. And again, not saying that they're always right.
Sure, everybody makes
but-
mistakes, and some people are just wrong and bad at the job.
Again, I always think it's super easy to play Monday morning quarterback.
Yep.
And talk about what you would have done in this situation, but you
Right.
weren't there. You
Right.
you didn't understand what was going on through that. And I love your idea of. I think everybody wants to in this environment that we live in right now. I think there's a bunch of people that want to help the police.
Right.
Like I don't want to defund them. I actually want to try to support them more and help them
Right.
become better in it. And you're kind of leading the way, I think, in this. And so one of the things we talked about doing is a lot of the people that watch this show are business owners. And I think a cool concept we kind of came up with was trying to get some of our business viewers that are listening now. If you would like to help either their local police department, if they would like to, or just a police department around, they could sponsor kind of your team to go into that police department, help train, help show them how to grapple, show them the right techniques to use, what not to use, because there are ways you could injure people very quickly, right? You talked about hurricane kind of earlier, right?
Right.
And so if you're a business out there watching this and you want to actually get involved with helping your local police department, there's a way to do this using a 25-year veteran, kind of a legend of the sport here, which I am totally for. So we're going to try to do this, Jeremy, here with you, where we do one a month for 12 months. And maybe try to get you in different cities across the nation where you can help do this. You're going to donate your expertise, your knowledge in this industry as well to help build this out. So again, if you're listening right now and you want to try to help the police department, help Jeremy, help his initiative, we fully support this and want to love to have you get behind this as well. Again, we only have 12 spots available. My guess is they're going to fill up pretty fast. Again, your brand, your company can be a part of this as well, and co-branded, if you will, with Jeremy here. Give us your website. So if they want to get some more information about this, what's the website they could go to with you on it right now?
So the website is eliteleograppling.com.
Okay.
And we'll have all the information on how you can support it and how you can get involved there.
So that's just going to be Elite, because that's your gym, kind of your brand and stuff right there, being Elite fighter. So Elite, LEO,
it's
which stands for Law Enforcement Officer, grappling.com.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll put this on the screen here as well so you guys can look at it. But again, if you want some more information about it, go make sure you guys check this out. And dude, if you want to sponsor a whole session, which I think a lot of you guys can do, or if you just want to partner up with 2 or 3 businesses and sponsor one with 2 or 3 businesses, we would love to have your support in this and show the support for the police department. The Thin Blue Line is keeping a lot of us safe. And I love supporting the police in the way that I can. If you can leave a comment below on the YouTube channel as well. We'll reach back out to you. You can DM us. We'll have Drew reach out to you. Again, get involved with this. I think it's an incredible project you have going on here. I'm super stoked about it with you as well. Again, that's EliteLEOGrappling.com.
Correct.
Also, what is your Instagram handle that you use there?
You can find me at Jeremy Horn MMA.
Okay.
On Instagram, just Jeremy Horn on Facebook, and then the website for the gym is ElitePerformanceGym.com.
That's your gym here in Sandy, Utah.
Utah.
We'll put all those on the screen right there. Jake, make sure you get all those up there. So again, just Facebook is just Jeremy Horn, and Instagram is Jeremy Horn MMA.
Correct.
On that one as well. But we'll get these on the screen. You guys make sure you follow him and get involved with this project he has going on. Awesome project. Last thing I want to do here with you is same thing we do every show, which is money is blank, and this is you fighting right here, or a shot here. Do you know where you are right here?
I believe that was in one of my later fights. I didn't grow the beard till a bit later in my career, so yeah.
You got the scruffy beard right there, and so obviously, Jeremy, money means different things to different people, and good, bad, but it just means different things to different people. And we love asking people what does money mean to them, because I think there has to be. In success, when it comes to money, there has to be a bigger alternative than just, I want to be rich, I want to have money. There's got to be something that you're wanting to do with it, make an impact somewhere. So I'm going to give this to you, and I'll give you the Sharpie here as well, and then we'll talk about your answer here a little bit. So you fill in the blank, and then sign below it there, and then we'll talk about that just for a little bit here. I'm excited to see what it is. Hopefully it's like money is a rear naked chokehold or something like that, right? All right, here we go. All right, this is a good one, man. So Jeremy right here on the camera, Jeremy has money is responsibility. Money is responsibility, and excited I heard at the bottom here. So great word here. Let's talk about it. Why when you talk about money is, what does that mean, responsibility?
Well, I think it is. I mean, if you have a lot of money, I think it should be your responsibility to do something productive with it, and help the people around you. And in my case, like I said, I'm trying to help the cops and law enforcement in general for the betterment of all of us.
Yeah.
I don't think it's helpful to have a ton of money and just sit on it and do nothing with it.
Yeah. There's this concept that I love to live by, and it's called obviously being in business. I'm a capitalist through and through. I think capitalism has made our country great. It's not without flaws, capitalism. But if you look at all the other ones that are out there, I always will lean on capitalism and what it's done. But I love this concept, kind of capitalism with a heart, or sometimes I'll refer to as cause capitalism. And it's just meaning what you're talking about there. It's like as you get more and more money, you have a responsibility, not just to put it in a box in an account somewhere and not do anything with it. I think there is a financial responsibility for those that do get it to do good with it.
Right.
Money is just a tool. I always talk about money as a tool, and you got to use it. If not, that hammer sits in a toolbox forever and does absolutely nothing but collect dust. Or that hammer could have went and used to build houses and put roofs over people's heads and so forth. Right. Money's a tool, and so I do agree that wealthy people have to have a responsibility to use that tool. Or
let's make the distinction. I also don't think they should be forced to.
No, I don't either.
I think that should be something that people should take upon themselves to be a good person and do what they can. But
because as soon as you start forcing people to do something with the money, it's gonna blow up immediately, because it doesn't work that way. When you get money, there's a reason that some people have it, and they know how. I always say that wealthy people know how to create it, keep it, and protect it. And when you start trying to force them to do something with it, number one, you're taking the foundational ingredients of our country away, which is capitalism, right? So I don't think you can make a law that says, oh, well, if you have this, you should do this. I hate it when they try to pass these laws and say, oh, well, if you have this amount of money, you're going to be forced to do this with it.
And we're going to take it from you and do it on your
behalf. That is asinine. I think that we should have a country of men and women that are successful in business that have a heart to help. And they're doing out of the goodness of what they believe in and their inner beliefs, not because they're forced to go do something.
I agree 100%.
100% there. So I love the answer. Money is responsibility. And you're also acting it out with what you're doing with the police department and the training there, which we for sure need in this day and age here. So guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. on the Money Is Show here with Jeremy Horn, a literal UFC MMA legend. Fought some of the greatest of all time. One of my I would say influencers, Chael Sonnen, and absolutely destroyed him 3 times in a row. Chael, if you're listening, I want to get you on the show and have you defend your honor, because this guy is just pummeling you 3 times in a row. So look, I hope you guys enjoy watching Jeremy Horn. You guys watch us next week on the Money Is Show.